Welcome to the latest episode of our Women Crush Wednesday 1Source series. I am Tiffany Presney, founder of 1Source Management Consulting, and we are the home of Peaceful Project Management. Today, I am talking to Dr. Mindelyn Anderson, founder of Mirror Group LLC, an evaluation, learning, and strategy firm that specializes in culturally responsive and racially equitable approaches and methodologies. For 22 years, Dr. Anderson has researched social inequality and stratification, race and migration, education and social mobility, and health. I met Dr. Anderson while working on the Brave Voices, Brave Choices sense-making and racial equity project for the Howard County Library System, and I'm always impressed with her skills and organization. Mindelyn is also a mom to four, a set of 9-year-old twins, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. She is a busy, busy lady. So I'd like to welcome Mindelyn.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I'm so honored to be here with you for this webinar, this conversation, as we often have. And I may have to turn the tables and pick your brain a little bit about this project management that y'all do. But I know you have your questions, so happy to chat.
Okay, well, jumping right on into things, I usually start off with asking, how did you get here? What was your path like to becoming a business owner?
Windy. It all started with a little girl dream. So when I was a child, I envisioned myself as a grown woman being a business owner. I drew a picture of myself. I was about 8 years old. I drew a picture of myself sitting at a desk with a gold nameplate. I'm wearing the power suit. I have the briefcase, so you already know what generation I'm from. And I'm talking, I guess, to some people off of the page. But I imagine myself as being a business owner, as a young girl. And so you flash forward that to applying to college for business programs, because if you want to go into business, you go into college, you should major in business, right? And so I selected UCLA for my undergrad. Shout out to Bruins, my alma mater. I'm always proud of UCLA. And so I'm there and I enter as a business economics major. And I'm doing well in my classes, but I'm bored to tears. So at UCLA at the time, there was kind of this written or unwritten rule that if there was a graduate school or professional school in that area, there wasn't an undergraduate major for it. So really, I was an economics major with some business management classes they would have us take like senior year. Mm-hmm. But here I am, a 17-year-old freshman, like, okay, like all these economic theories to me just didn't match up with the world that I lived in and that I saw. Because when you're starting out, and I know this now, right, the wisdom of time, but at that time I was like, it's always like in perfect conditions. And when the market is behaving the way the market should behave, these things happen. I'm like, but the market doesn't behave how it should behave. People are unemployed. People lose jobs. People have a house and they don't have a house. Like, these natural disasters happen. I'm a California native. Like all these things take place. So in my world, I see more of the not perfect than the perfect. And so if you think about entry-level courses at a large university like UCLA, it's 500 kids in the lecture hall, professor on the stage with a mic, right? And so this big space, and I would raise my hand, ask the question, go to office hours, ask the question. They were good questions, but it was like, oh yeah, these are great things you're thinking about. And, when you get into your advanced classes, you'll get more into that, but I'm glad, you're engaging. And I was just like, 2 years seemed like a long time to not be happy, joyful in my major. And so I had an advisor who said, knowing you and your interests, I think you should check out sociology. And I was like, what is sociology? I had no idea what it was. I knew psychology, I knew anthropology, had never heard of sociology at that time. And she said, it's the study of people and society and how they interact. And I was like, oh, I'll check it out. Took an intro class. Fell in love because sociologists, their theories came in expecting the world not to act the way it should act. So what do we do with that? And so started doing research right away, straight from undergrad to PhD program at Johns Hopkins University. That's what brought me to this coast in this DMV area. And in the process of switching coasts, being a very young person, coming into the program where we were fully funded, but we didn't have summer funding, I was like, y'all got to give me some summer funding, at least the first summer I'm here. And then once I'm in place, I'm sure I could figure it out, but I can't move from California to Maryland and not know how I'm going to pay bills in the summer, right? Because I am independent. So in that process, one summer, I was volunteering with a group, Refugee Youth Project, and just with kids who had seen the worst horrors, right? Coming from war-torn countries, resettled, family members murdered, new place, new language, new culture, new everything, having to settle in. So I would just hang out with the kids after school, help with a little homework, kind of do the things. And I saw the people at the nonprofit agencies, right, that were supporting refugee resettlement. And I told the project director, if there's anything else I can do around here to help out, let me know. I'm in school, getting this PhD, research skills, happy to help in other ways as well, because I see how passionate you all are. And I also see the burnout. And she was like, as a matter of fact, the person that usually does our annual report, she just resigned. Can you do an annual report? I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I went home and I Googled how to write an annual report. And that became my first evaluation before I even knew what evaluation was. But I share kind of that arc of the story because really, becoming a business owner was part of a longer journey of visioning myself as someone that would create something, right? That I would work in and that others would work in. Didn't fully know what that was, but having that idea. And then you couple that with an entrepreneurial spirit where it's like, oh, I'm going to work it out like where I am, but I have to get the lay of the land. And then trying things and being willing to fail. And failure happens often in business ownership and entrepreneurship. Lots of wins too, of course, but you have to be willing to try and fail and then get back up, learn from that and do it again. So that's kind of a short version of a longer story. I'm sure we could have another time around what led me to becoming a business owner. So I was a professor of sociology. I went through, got my PhD, went straight into the tenure track, 27 years old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, students older than me. Okay. And I always knew being a professor would be my first career, not my last. That was not a popular thing to say at that time. I'm sure it may be shocking to some people to hear now. Like, I thought that's like the thing you retire on, all comfy and cushy. But from my perspective, I still had so much life ahead. I had so many things I wanted to experience and try and fail and try and succeed. And so I was grateful to start off in that way. But being in the academy, even getting the grants, the national awards and PhD students and traveling internationally and doing the work, and it was great. But I also knew I didn't find as much joy as I found in supporting organizations that were closer to community. And so I resigned from my position instead of going up for tenure. That shocked all my colleagues, and started working on this thing that became Mirror Group.
Mindelyn, it sounds to me like you had a lot of achievement at a young age. And I think that probably helped, I would guess, help propel you to do even more and not necessarily follow the beaten path.
I appreciate that reflection. I receive it. But yes, when I was younger, people would often say I had an old soul or I was kind of prodigious in spirit. Like just I've always been curious about the world. I'm always asking questions. I'm happy to listen, soak up that wisdom. And I'm by no means a bystander. I'm like, let me go try that out. let me see how that works. And so I would agree. I would agree. There is a part of me that is yearning for, oh, that was awesome. Okay, what else? Oh, that was really great. Okay, what else? Yeah.
Is always striving and looking for a new challenge. Actually, that came up with one of my other Women Crush Wednesday interviews as well. Ebony mentioned the fact that she's like, if I know how to do it and I'm comfortable doing it, I'm immediately going to be looking for something else that I can learn that, is going to challenge and push me a little bit more. I think that that's probably I don't know if that's part of the entrepreneur spirit or what, but it's like always looking for a new challenge.
I think so.
Speaking of challenges, that's like literally my question number two. Haha. What challenges have you faced as an entrepreneur? And specifically, was there anything that surprised you along the way?
I love this question. I think it's so important for us as business owners to speak on all the wonderful things about business ownership, but also share some of the challenging things, right? Decisions you have to make, situations you'll encounter. And so I love this challenges question. I think about when I left the academy and hired myself full time at Mirror Group. So I was our first hire, right? And so it was exciting because it's like, okay, instead of splitting my time, like, okay, I do a little thing, weekends, evenings, summers, it's like, oh, I get to devote all my time to this. And so once I made that shift, I didn't know what was coming. But what came was people were like, oh, clients of ours, colleagues of ours, oh, you're doing this totally full time now? Oh, yeah, I'm doing this full time now. And they started sending us larger and longer term contracts. Oh, we'd love to partner with you in this. So some people might be like, Tiffany said a challenge. How is it a challenge that you're getting more work, more business? It's a challenge because I don't have an MBA. I don't have a formal business background. I have felt my way through things. I'm grateful now to be able to benefit from entrepreneurship cohorts, women's leadership, just other things that really help to shore you up as a business owner. But I just share that to say, folks that are in business and been trained up in business and have been in business for some time, they're like, oh, yeah, we know. It's that challenge of when do I stop overworking myself and hire some other people to come join me in this work? So that was the first challenge was when I started, I had 2 paid interns, because we don't believe in free labor, who, had 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, supporting us. One was in a gap year, one was in a graduate program, and then myself. So when we had these smaller projects that were just scoped for me, that was great because I was like, oh, they can get exposure to this. I can offload that, but I'm still working closely with them. And these were projects that were scoped for me to do. Once we started getting these larger projects, I was behind the curve and realizing I had to hire full-time people, that there wasn't enough of me nor them to really hold the work that was coming. And I always partner with 1099. So we have subcontractors, we call them preferred partners. We continue to partner on work together, and that's awesome. But again, there's a difference between having a contractor and an employee, right? Contractor, what's the work I have to do? Okay, this is how I have to do it. I have to meet the need, right? If they're meeting it, great. They're not meeting it, not great. Employees is different. You have more management over them, how they do the work, when they do the work, under what circumstances, and holding that standard that we were building as we were doing the work. And so it looks different, right? And then really thinking about Mirror Group, as what it is a name. It's a group of people who are mirroring back wisdom to organizations and community that we work with. We're so excited to be positioned to do that work. But then also there's a particular way that we do it. Like everybody wants to think they're different, they're unique. I'm not saying it's so different from everyone else, but if there's that 10% differentiator that, oh, this is how we feel when we engage in Mirror Group work, or we know we can expect this when we engage in Mirror Group work, that's important. So how to build that up beyond yourself, really set those values and that standard and expectation among folks that you're hiring full time, right? And to make sure that that's held throughout, that is a different scale and level of an opportunity. And so that was one of the early ones. And I'll be frank, it's one of the ones that I still 2 steps forward, 1 step backward, got a little nice little salsa, a little something going on there where I continue to grow in that area as the founder of Mirror Group, and just really what we can provide as a robust, caring workspace. We have not succeeded there in many ways. We've struggled in many ways. We've had some successes there in many ways. But if we're really growing this to where it's a full-time job for people other than myself, getting that tight is so important. And that's what we're in the middle of right now, literally. Systems documentation, setting standards, setting that strong infrastructure, recognizing and honoring talent, promoting folks, recognizing and honoring talent, doing a nice little lattice. Like where you want to go. You want to move that way, you want to move this way. Here are the things we need to have in place to make that happen. And also honoring and appreciating colleagues and realizing when it's like, okay, maybe the expectation and the need and your desire and the will are not aligned. So how do we part ways amicably and not upset? Because I've experienced both. So
Yeah.
areas of growth there.
Yeah, we were actually before we started recording, we started having this conversation.
Yeah.
We're talking big time about delegation, being able to delegate well, prepping ourselves for delegation, and the importance of people management. I do remember from like years ago taking some courses, and one of the instructors said, she was like, a lot of people don't recognize that management is in and of itself a skill, and that it has to be developed. And that if you're, sort of specialized, like if you're focused in your specialty, then you probably aren't spending that much time developing a management skill. But once you decide to bring your specialty to a business and you open your business, all of a sudden your specialty, like your skills and the specialty, can start to take a back seat to your ability to manage the people that you're bringing into your business. And that is, I would say it can be an uncomfortable challenge. We were also talking about managing people from the lens of a woman, from the lens of a Black woman, from making sure that, we are sharing our words and our thoughts in ways that is respectful and honorable to the people that we're dealing with, but also clear. And that when we're making, that an instruction is not necessarily a request. And frequently that seems to be where we can, make an instruction sound like a request, just trying to maintain niceness, as things go. But hey.
Yeah. Every time I get with you, I'm learning. So I've got my notes over here from our earlier conversation, as well as right now. I hope that your viewers are noting that Tiffany is always dropping gems and insight in this area of management and project management. And I just appreciate being in her orbit.
I try. I feel like I stumble more than I, hit, but sometimes things just work. And, I think I was saying earlier, my fallback is really more in written communication, because it's a little bit easier for me to be straightforward in an email than it is for me to be straightforward in a conversation. So I like to do sentence, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point.
Like a true project manager. Oh, yeah.
Like due date.
Yes. I love it. But yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, two big challenges. One, like you said, delegation. I had a mentor who early on, I actually still had my full-time job, but I knew I was going to be transitioning right into Mirror Group full-time. And he was like, I think this would help you. And he gave me straight up Xerox copy. I don't know if you remember Xerox machines. They used to leave those little dots on the paper. It was really a Xerox. Okay. And I still have it. And it was around the 4 Ds. How do you determine what you do, what you delegate, what you defer, and what you don't? And he was like, I can see you trying to do all the things. So he asked me that question. A lot of mentors or coaches will ask you, which is like, what do you enjoy most in the business? Okay, you may not see this, but at some point, you're not going to be able to work in the business and on the business at the same level you're doing right now. And so you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to make the decision that you're working in the business because that's what you love as, a technical founder and doing that work, and that's what you do, or you're going to work on the business and really grow it up like an executive and kind of get these things together, because everyone thinks they can do both. And he's like, and I'll tell you, in my 40 plus years of experience, it's the rare one that can do both. And especially when you scale and grow, you cannot do both and really serve your clients, serve your team, and do well. So I was challenged by that. I was like, I still see it as both, but he told me in advance, this is what's going to come up. And so now I'm in this space where I'm getting clearer on those 4 Ds, letting stuff go, trusting team to handle it. But I also have to set the standard for that, right? And not get back in and muddle stuff up. Let people do what they do, right? And come back around and celebrate and come back around and redirect, right? And refine, because I'm aspiring to become CEO of Mirror Group. Lots of folks say, you're already CEO. What do you mean? You better claim that title. I had a business advisor say, you know why we don't have more women CEOs? Because it's women like you who are CEOs, who are doing the work, and you won't claim the title. She was like, I don't need you to be humble right now. I need you to put that crown on and do your, really good feminist pep talk. I loved it. And at the same time, I told her, I said, I don't know about other people, but for myself, there's a certain standard I've set where I know, I was like, because I know CEOs, and this advisor was a CEO 3 times over. I'm like, and I know how y'all spend your day, and that is not how I spend my day right now. And so I'm making steps to make sure that the business has what it needs, so I really can be a CEO just as other people come into their roles. But I was like, I'm in DC. This is a town of people faking it till they make it, like claiming the things and not really doing the things. I was like, that's just not my style. So I do have a goal by June 5th of 2024. So I'm a little over a year out from it to become CEO of Mirror Group. But I also know what Mirror Group deserves for me to hold that title. Yes. And that's what I'm focused on putting into place. Yep.
I like that approach to it. I do like that approach. But I also agree with what they were saying, which is definitely claim what you are and don't be overly humble, because that's how we do. That's what we do, is overly humble. Maybe the middle ground is to aspire to grow into the CEO that you want to be.
I receive it. I hear it.
No,
I hear it. Yeah.
Like, I think you're right. Like, there is, when we have standards, and I think that that's one of the things that might drive us into entrepreneurship as well, is sometimes like knowing, like, I know my standards are low. Let me free me up so I can work to my standard, not to somebody else's standard. I would like to be the person to set the standard, because I'm gonna set that bar a little bit higher, and make it more effective for the people whose lives or work or whatever I'm trying to change.
That's good. I receive it. I hear it. I do. I'm going to let you know. I'm adding you to the list of a long list of people. I was like, I promise you, when I update that title, I'm going to send you an email from my email account. And at the bottom, instead of it saying founder plus principal, it's going to say CEO. And you're going to know.
That's right. I know that's right. I actually picked the founder myself. I do the same thing.